Welcome to the 2023 Spring Fling preview show with Main Street Preps. I'll be your host today. My name is Brady McAtamney, Clarksville sports reporter and host of MSP Clarksville show. Let's meet our guests / reporters for today, starting with our Nashville sports reporter. He is the co-host of the MSP This Week show, Tyler Palmatier, as well as his co-host, the audience development manager by day and sports writer by night, Russell Venozzi, as well as our Sumner County sports editor / Robertson County sports editor. He's doing a little bit of both right now. Host of the Sumner County sports show, Blaine Keller, and host of Casey's Take. He is the Dixon County sports writer, as well as the Cheatham County sports writer, Casey Patrick. And this show is brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. We're going to start off with some Davidson County and Williamson County talk right now. We'll start with Tyler. Perhaps our best team in the mid-state, regardless of sport, Brentwood Soccer, nationally ranked, undefeated this season. Do they have what it takes to finish off that undefeated season?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, when you look at, there's a lot of cool storylines, but I can't think of, maybe with the exception of Good Pasture Baseball, there being like a team that is had this dominant of a run, but I don't know that there's anybody left that has kind of a national storyline when you look at that ranking. So I definitely think yes. You look at what they have on defense, a lot of great midfielders, but then Thomas Fields at goalkeeper, 11 shutouts. And it's also a team that just can score in bunches. In that, Coach Mike Purcell is 72 years old, I think, and he thinks this is his deepest team. He's been at Brentwood for 21 years. He thinks it's his deepest team. So it's kind of one of those deals you never know who's going to score. But Klein Simmons, Cooper Bailey, freshman Tristan Tropiano, all have double-digit goals on the season. So you're talking about really a lot of experienced guys and even the younger guys chipping in. And it's kind of a crazy team, but wrote about this not too long ago, but not one, at least currently, college commitment on that team. There's obviously guys that could probably go play at the next level somewhere, but just guys that are just going to continue without soccer. So it's a really neat storyline, and it'll be interesting to see, how that all goes this week.
That is pretty incredible. You think of a team that's been this successful, you think it's going to be, D1 recruits all across the board, but pretty incredible. Russell, let's talk about the only athlete who might be busier than the writers. CPA's London Humphreys. He could have a possible overlap between baseball and track. An athlete qualifying for state in both is pretty incredible. Just what's his day going to look like on Wednesday?
Yeah, guys, they're going to need some sort of shuttle service or a police escort or something. I honestly don't know how he was going to do this, but I'm sure they're going to make every effort to, because the situation on Wednesday is that CPA baseball will have a game. We don't know what time that is yet. Depends on what happens Tuesday, but they'll either play their first game at 10 a.m. or 12:30. And then if they were to get to that 12:30 game and win, then they would be good the rest of the day. They wouldn't play. But if they lose either the 12:30 game, or if they lose the 10 o'clock game, they're out. But if they were to win the 10 o'clock game or lose the 12:30 game, they would then have to play again at 5. And that's going to be a pretty big problem for London. I think at that point he would have to choose whether he wants to do his track events or or just play baseball. I'd imagine with how competitive he is in track and all the state titles he's collected there that he would go to track, but we're just going to have to see, because he's got the 100 meter, the 200 meter, and the relay that'll be happening at 4 p.m. onward, sometime in that frame. But he's also got the long jump that's supposed to happen earlier in the day between 9 and 4 with the field events. So there's maybe a chance he could go back and forth a couple different times. The other complication is that the baseball tournament is all the way up at Wilson Central in Lebanon. So that's a little bit further out than some of these other venues. And it's, I would say, at least a 20 or 25 minute ride from MTSU, where they're holding the track championships, up to Wilson Central. So it's going to be a fascinating day on Wednesday for him, but regardless, I mean, he's earned the opportunity to compete in both those sports, and we'll see what he's able to do.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see how they handle that for sure. I definitely smell a very nice feature story on that if you choose to do so. Tyler, you mentioned Good Pasture Baseball as a team that's been really just dominant this season. Are they destined to win a second straight D2 title?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we would pick anybody else at this point. It would be definitely a Goliath or a David over Goliath in some form if Good Pasture weren't to win. So I would definitely say yes. If we look at over the last 8 games, I haven't seen this sort of offensive production from anybody this year. 96 runs over the last 8 games, and that includes a 21-0 win to get to this spot. So tells you maybe a little bit about the field getting to this point. It'll get a little bit harder, but I don't see how anybody overtakes Good Pasture. We had Jim Carter on not that long ago. Great coach. You look at the depth. So many guys returning from last year. You know, you've got Tennessee commitments in Carson Rucker and Luke Payne. I think definitely have the firepower to do it. Would predict them to do it, and proven great champions last year. You know, you always look at who wins. You know, are they great champions? And I think some people, you know, just prove that they're above and beyond the best team, and I think they did that. And definitely think the Cougars are going to get this done.
Yeah, Russell, staying on baseball, let's look up at D2 AA. Who would you consider the favorite between Lipscomb and CPA?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Brady, because you've also got Macaulay and Knoxville Catholic to deal with in that bracket, and I think we've learned the past couple of years, like those teams that come from East and West Tennessee in the private school league are definitely nothing to overlook. But yeah, the way both of those teams are playing right now, I could see either of them making that title game. I would have to lean towards CPA a little bit, just because the way that they, outside of the first game against Briarcrest the other day, they completely dominated that series. Briarcrest threw Matthew Dallas, a Tennessee commitment, in the first game, and CPA still almost got that one, but they came back the next day with a couple of run rule victories, and just really like the way they're playing right now. I think they have a pretty deep pitching staff as well. You've got the 3 starters of Eli Dickey, Carter Wallace, and Braxton Orr. I think that's a really good lineup there. So I would have to lean towards CPA of those 2 being the favorites, but Lipscomb Academy, you can't count them out. This is a team that just will not be eliminated. Last year, you know, they fought through that losers bracket to get all the way to the if necessary state championship game, and you know, we're right there in that one. Or it may not have been the if necessary game, but anyways, they fought back from the losers bracket to get to the championship game. And then this year, of course, they lose in the region tournament. They have to go play that extra series, but they were able to beat MUS and then I believe Christian Brothers after that, and to still get to the state tournament. So you certainly can't count them out. They've got the experience of guys like Hunter High, Miller Green, guys that have been here before. So you have to like that. But just based on how everything played out in the regular season, the last time CPA and Lipscomb met, I think I got to give just a slight edge to CPA.
Yeah, they want to send resident hype man Brent High out on a high. Thank you, Tyler and Russell. Let's move on to our Dickson County segment with host of Casey's Take and our Dickson County sports writer, Casey Patrick.
What's up, Brady?
Casey, always good to see you, man. What are some of the differences in Harpeth's soccer team from this year to last year?
Well, I think Harpeth soccer coach Lou Jenkins has said it best. You know, to begin the season, he brought up how much different this team was than last year, because last year they relied on Kyler Hartley a lot, who was a leading goal scorer. I think he scored 27 goals last year. And this year they've had to kind of spread out the wealth a little bit more. And I think that is one of the few other things I want to get to later too, is just the differences in what Harpeth is this year from last. And a lot of it seems to be more team oriented, which I think is obviously going to be better for them. But they are, they're spreading the wealth out more. Instead of Kyler Hartley getting all the goals like he did last year, it's more about, like, Jasper Tharp has a lot of goals this year. Jacob Montgomery, who was out with the illness last year in the regional, or not last year, but last week in the regional semifinals, I believe is what it was. Jacob Montgomery should be back, but he's been up front helping them score goals. They've spread it out some more with Armando Esparza as well. So Coach Lou Jenkins really likes the group that he's got and how much different they are than last year, because it was so kind of centered around Hartley. That's the main thing for me. And they've been there. A lot of these kids, you know, after you get the experience of going the first time, you really want to go back. And a lot of those kids that finished last year and lost in the first round to Merrill Hyde, they get another chance at Merrill Hyde this year on Tuesday. So those kids, they want the win, and I think they've got a good chance to bring it home maybe.
That would definitely be very cool for the area. Looking at track and field, can a Cheatham athlete bring home first again after a sectional first place finish?
Well, Cheatham County Central's Lily Shadowins actually finished. She finished first in the 1,600 meter run, and Harpeth's first place finisher was Kate Brent, and she finished first in the 800 meter run. I think it's going to be a good question to see if either one of those two kids can like I said, kind of redo what they did in the sectional round. I'm going to have to wish them a lot of luck because obviously the talent really makes a huge jump from the sectional round to the state level. But that is going to be a huge question. It's going to. I don't think it's going to be nearly as easy as it was. But I think again, just like Harpeth soccer, it'd be really great for the area just to have another. Even if it is an individual state champion, it'd still be great for the area to have something like that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look at Allie Beal, has her own school record. Can she break it again?
Well, she set her own school record of 12.64 at sectionals in first place, finished 100-meter dash. 12.6 is pretty fast for anybody. So it's going to be hard to do that again. But if she can break her own school record, she's got a chance to bring home some gold. So I think, of course, again, it's the same with the Cheatham girls too. Once you start to get up to the state level, we all know that the talent gets better as it should. So Allie, I think for her to bring home gold, she may have to break her own school record again. So best of luck to her. I think there's a chance, and I'm ready to see what happens.
Thank you, Casey. Talking some Dixon and Cheatham with us. Let's move on over to Blaine, who has been ridiculously busy this spring, and that's not going to change this week. Blaine, there's an insane 5 baseball teams from Robertson County who are in state. Rather, 4 of them are in state out of 5. How in the world does that happen?
80% success rate is pretty incredible after just one team made the state tournament last year. I think this new playoff format really helped out Robertson County a ton, where you are able to lose in that region tournament and still make it to the sectional round. And you can lose one game in the sectional and still make it to the state tournament. East Robertson being an example of that. The Indians in the 2021 Class A state champions lost to Joe Burns in their region championship, traveled to South Pittsburgh and swept the Pirates down south. Joe Burns, on the other side, earned its first state tournament appearance at home. They swept Lookout Valley. Greenbrier and White House Heritage, both teams that have made the tournament in the past 2 years, they both qualified with home sectional series as well. Heritage really got a good series matchup. Westview was a team that just had 12 wins on the year, but Hardin County was a tough draw for the Bobcats. They still got it done in 3.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at the D2A, or rather the single A bracket, there's a dream championship matchup in there with the possibility of Joe Burns and East Robertson matching up. Do you think that that's possible?
It's tough, but it's not entirely out of the question thanks to both teams being in different host sites. East Robertson's going to be at Rockville. Joe Burns is all the way out in Eagleville. But if Joe Burns can defeat Eagleville, which won the Class A championship last year, and will be playing it on its home turf, and if East Robertson can knock out the reigning runner-up in McKenzie, you've got a Friday 10 a.m. matchup between 2 District 8 1A teams, which, again, like you said, would be a dream matchup there. Of course, it's easy to look 4 rounds down the road and hope for that, but again, just a really exciting time for Robertson County baseball to even have the prospect of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a successful season for Sumner track and field as well. 40-plus athletes qualifying for state. Who are some of the top names to watch?
Yeah, as if my job didn't get any more busy with 10-plus Sumner and Robertson County teams. We've got 40-plus track and field athletes to watch out for. In Portland, I think Will Hester in both hurdles events is going to be somebody to watch out for. His dad was a hurdler, and he actually broke his dad's school record earlier this season. He's, I believe, in the top 4 seeds in both of those events out of Sumner County, so that's some great representation. Whitney Robinson of Liberty Creek being the school's first ever state qualifier is such a huge moment for them in that track and field program. And Kamaria Corder, someone else I'm watching out for, broke Gallatin's 48-year long jump record earlier this year and was a great short distance runner as well. She's going to be competing in that long jump event, and I would expect her to do pretty well as well.
Absolutely. And let's get one more in here. We have one more shot for a Sumner team to get to the state tournament today. You don't always see a sectional game on Monday, but tell us a little bit about that.
As bizarre as it is, Westmoreland will travel to Community tonight to take on the Vi Queens at 6 p.m. Westmoreland going for a bit of history, trying to take out a team that made the state tournament last year. It's been a long time since Westmoreland was at this stage. They were at the sectional last year, but really hoping and gunning for Murfreesboro. And if they get it, they got to set travel plans for about 12 hours from then as they get ready to play in that first round game in the afternoon.
Love it. Thank you, Blaine. Let's run to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some takes and predictions.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Welcome back to the MSP Spring Fling preview show. Let's talk about some takes and predictions, as well as go down some memory lane a little bit. We're going to start with Blaine. Blaine, give us a prediction, a question, and a past Spring Fling story.
Yeah, one big prediction out of the Robertson and Sumner area. If there are 4 Robertson County baseball teams to be had in this year's state tournament, I feel like I have to predict one of them to win it all. White House Heritage is my big prediction. I think they win their first Class 2A state championship this spring. There were 4 teams, of course, in the Final Four last year of the Class 2A tournament: Loretto, Pigeon Forge, Watertown, and White House Heritage. 3 of those teams have been eliminated before reaching the state tournament. White House Heritage has a really favorable bracket on their side. They're playing at Stewart's Creek where they were last year, so they're familiar with the home field. I think there's a lot of advantages for this Patriots team. They're more talented than they were last year, and they're more experienced. They've been on this stage. So I'll take them to win the Class 2A state championship. Big question to give you some Sumner County coverage. Can Merrill Hyde Tennis complete a state team tournament three-peat? They've won the state championship each of the last 2 years. It's been an incredible run for those 4-year players. I think it'd be a great high note for them to go out on there. And when you look through their region and sectional bracket, they haven't dropped a set yet. They swept Camden 5-0, beat Fairview 4-0. So a couple of big wins there to make it back to Murfreesboro. I think they have another good shot. I mean, that's another smaller prediction to think that they can maybe complete the three-peat there. And, there were a ton of great stories to be had from last year's spring, my first Spring Fling, going into my second this year. But I think I've got to come back to White House Heritage Baseball. This was a team that made it to the Class 2A state Final Four without hitting a home run. They've, of course, hit 7 this year after I left the county and started to focus on Sumner. But, it was a really interesting story to see them really battle through their first state tournament appearance with no power, just going station to station and playing team ball as best as they can. So really, those are my predictions, my questions, and my favorite past Spring Fling story.
Thank you, Blaine. How about I give you guys a little bit of my own for now? We have Clarksville High baseball in the state tournament. My big prediction is that they're going to make it to at least Thursday. I think they have enough pitching to get there, and I think that they have enough hitting to get there. They aren't really a power team similar to White House Heritage from last year. They have a few home runs, but not very many. They have enough hitting going station to station. They draw walks, and they have great defense. So I think that that's going to be a good recipe to win at least a couple games. They have Stewart's Creek first, and will face the winner of Independence and Farragut, or the loser, depending on how that plays out. My big question, can Tori James from Rossview medal after taking a year off from track and field last year? She medaled in her freshman season in the high jump, took the last year off, back in it this year, and she's back in state. Pretty incredible. She's got D1 offers in basketball and volleyball. So you can see that she's just an absolute pure athlete. Just really incredible stuff to see her back in here. And of course, my favorite spring fling memory. It's got to be CHS softball's run last year. Kind of a little bit of a, I don't want to say Cinderella run, but kind of just coming out of nowhere almost and just beating everybody, just playing their absolute best softball at the right time last year. And they absolutely just took over, made it to the state championship game, state second place, just pretty incredible stuff. And that's got to be my favorite spring fling memory. Now let's go to Casey. Why don't you give us your little list here?
Yeah, I think my one main prediction is I think Harpeth is going to beat Merrill Hyde on Tuesday. And it's only because these kids and Coach Jenkins are hyper focused on that one goal. I haven't been hearing them say so much about we want to win the state tournament. It's not about we want to get to Friday. It's about we want to get past Tuesday. And I think it'd be a monumental thing for a team that just made its first state tournament appearance ever last year. Of course, they get a rematch with the team that knocked them out on penalty kick, or after penalty kicks, and in a 3-2 loss. So and like I said, Harpeth is hyper focused on this one goal of getting past Tuesday and beating Merrill Hyde. I think they're going to do that. Now, as far as let's see, my one big question is, I talked for a minute earlier about all of my track and field athletes. Between Lily Shadowins and Kate Brent, both Sarah Potter and Rachel Brewer at Dixon County, and then Allie Dill at Creekwood, I'm thinking, which one of those girls is going to win a state championship? I think one of them can do it, because you've got a lot of really great times here and really good finishes for these girls in the sectional round. So I'm thinking one of them's got a chance to bring home first. Which one of them's going to do it? I don't know. This Allie Dill breaking that school record sectionals may have given her a lot of momentum going forward. But I don't know who's going to do it, but I think one of them can. And then, of course, my favorite story is I'm going to be a little bit more selfish, not really about a team, but the first year I worked for Main Street Media, I got to go to the Spring Fling, and of course, Creekwood softball was there, and I was making my way. Of course, y'all know the guys I'm talking to. Y'all know how the complex works. You got fields all around, and you walk up and down. There was a foul ball hit, and I was lucky enough to look up, and it was another game going on next to the Creekwood game. But the guys that do the radio for the local radio station, they were actually talking pregame, and I knew the guy that does the radio, and he used to work there, and now he works at 104.5. Lucas Panzica, he's a friend of mine. He actually saw me. He looked down and he watched as this foul ball come over. And I was lucky enough to look up, and I just reached one hand up in the air and caught it with my hand. And pretty athletic play. It looked like I knew what I was doing. But that's one of my favorite stories, because that he actually called that over the radio as I was saving my own life and not getting hit upside the head with a softball. But that is one of my favorite stories. I just always think about that one. And I actually hate the fact that I don't get to watch any soccer this year, but I know Blaine can take up for the rest of us, because like y'all said, he's already got 45 teams or whatever's going on.
Man, I love that. Main Street Press, where we hire athletes.
That's right.
Thank you,
That's
Casey.
right. We ball.
Yeah, we ball. Let's go to Russell. I don't know if you have any stories that'll top that, but let's see.
Yeah, I don't have any personal stories that can top that, but I do remember a couple years ago, Father Ryan's Harrison Krause, he scored a couple goals in the state semifinals and a penalty kick in the shootout to send Father Ryan to the state championship game. And he told me afterwards that he'd been battling food poisoning all day. He'd been thrown up, had been really sick. I'm not sure if he ate something at the team hotel or what happened, but somehow, despite having no energy, he managed to get through 100 minutes of soccer and a penalty kick shootout. I was I would have had no idea that he was sick. He looked like he was at full strength. So that was something that stuck out as a memory. My big prediction is that MLK Magnet and Valor College Prep, I think that these two teams are going to meet again. And the only way they can do that would be in the Class AA soccer title game. They've been so evenly matched all year. They've each won one game, and they have also tied another. There's pretty much no goals every time they play. There's only been one goal from the field in all three of their matchups, and then one other one went to a PK shootout. So I think these teams are really tough, and there's a chance they're the two best in that bracket, and they're on the opposite side. So there's at least a chance they could meet. And then lastly, my question is, can Green Hill or Nolensville softball get through the Class 4A bracket in their state tournament debuts? Be awesome to see if maybe one of them or maybe even both of them can get to the finals. But, you got Frigate, got Coffee County, Henry County. That's a really, really tough bracket. So I'll be interested to see how those two really new schools and new programs do in their first trip to Murfreesboro.
Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting to see. Going to be a cool storyline to watch. All right, Tyler, let's last but not least, let's get your predictions question and a story.
Yeah, I don't know that this is going to bode well for our reporters who probably don't want to cover any extra games and they don't have to with so many things going on this week. But I think Lipscomb Academy and CPA are going to play 3 times this week. They're going to meet in the semis. They're going to meet again in the championship after one of the loser emerges from the loser's bracket. And then I think they're going to meet again in what would be an if necessary championship game, which would be awesome. I mean, it's actually, it's my prediction. It's going to be, it doesn't mean it's going to be an easy thing to happen, but anytime you have an all-area final, bodes well for the crowds. Both crowds know each other. Everybody knows each other. And then obviously the team just being very familiar because they're from playing in the same region. That would be a really cool thing to actually come to fruition. And I don't, CPA, Russell was hitting on all this. CPA is playing really well, got a great pitching staff. And then, Lipscomb kind of played kind of mediocre through its region tournament. But I think it's one of those groups that can maybe not play as well one day. It's baseball. They had a couple games that weren't great, but ever since they've been pretty good. So we'll kind of just have to see. One big question or questions when you look at a couple of other sports, specifically girls, Brentwood in girls sports have a couple streaks that are going to be on the line. The track team's going for 3 in a row and poised to possibly do that just really are equipped with a lot of great athletes, including pentathlon champion sophomore Sophie Yount, who was contributing even as a freshman last year. It's always great to have one of those athletes who can, come in and not just win the pentathlon points for you, but to have a potential impact in other places like relays and whatnot. So, and then you look at Brentwood girls tennis going for 2 in a row now, returning virtually every player from last year and kind of looking to restart a dynasty, if that's a good word, 4 titles for that program from 2016 to 2019. So Bruins kind of trying to start another streak here. My past spring fling story, I just thought this was cool. It was last year in the AAA soccer championship between Brentwood and Bearden. Everybody spoke all week about how good Bearden was, and obviously everybody kind of just decided Brentwood was going to be the underdog. And then after Brentwood comes out and scores on his first 3 shot attempts in the first half, one of them was put in by Forrest Wells, and he comes over to the bench to his team and he yells out, "I thought these guys were good." And I was standing right there and I just thought that is some pretty epic shade, if you will, or I don't know. It wasn't, I've heard worse, but I thought it was really good. He kind of just summarized the whole week's narrative in one question. They were told they were good. And obviously they were, but Brentwood was just a lot better that day. So that's my story.
I love that. Well, this has been the MSP Spring Fling preview show brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. Thank you guys all for contributing. Thank you to our producer, Justin Kulik, behind the scenes for chipping in today. And we look forward to seeing you guys all at the fields this week.